Mangwanani Malelepo Fukenjani Kleklas Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, your portal into Africa's potent stories. Today we are in Cameroon as 92-year-old President Biya is reshuffling his military ahead of elections. France exits Senegal after 65 years of military presence. In South Africa, Operation Dudula vigilantes deny immigrant mothers basic health care. Then we unpack the latest rift between Donald Trump and Cyril Ramaphosa. And we also touch on a $4.3 million Martian meteorite found in Niger. Namibia takes center stage in our local focus, while the G20 faces roadblocks in Durban and Dangote speaks out on Nigeria's power woes. Finally, it's Namibia versus Zimbabwe in the Rugby Africa Cup, and we'll be bringing you our special Chasing the Cup segment delivered directly from Kampala, Uganda. Watch us on DSTV 285, GOTV 25, oneup2.com and NTV Africa on YouTube. Keeping in mind, on oneup2.com, if you click echo, you have access to all of our episodes. Prime time, anytime. My name is Ashwin Berry. This is Africa Good Morning. See you after the break. President Paul Biya of Cameroon, aged 92, has made sweeping changes to the country's military leadership as he confirms his intent to seek an 8th term in office in the upcoming October 12 elections. The reshuffle, enacted through a string of presidential decrees, includes appointing new chiefs for the Air Force, Navy and Infantry, while 8 brigadier generals were elevated to Major General. Notably, the head of the elite Rapid Intervention Battalion, a critical component of Biya's security network, was among those promoted. Analysts interpret this as a move that is calculated to create a loyal ring of military leadership that could suppress dissent. The overhaul comes amid mounting public criticism and scrutiny over Biya's age and lengthy absences from public life. While the government insists Biya is in good health, concerns continue to swirl. Security experts argue the restructuring reflects an urgent desire to reinforce state stability ahead of potentially turbulent elections, especially with existing threats from Anglophone separatists and Islamist militants in the north. Biya, who has ruled Cameroon since 1982, faces widespread calls for political transition, but his recent moves suggest a deepening entrenchment of power, bolstered by loyalists within the military. Ended its 65-year military presence in Senegal, handing over its final bases to the Senegalese authorities. The departure of roughly 350 French troops marks a significant geopolitical shift in West and Central Africa, as former colonies continue to distance themselves from Paris. The pullout, initiated in March, culminates with the return of Camp Gil and an airfield at Dakar Airport. President Bassirou Diomaye Faye, elected in 2024 on promises of radical reform, demanded the removal of foreign troops by the end of 2025, while still affirming France as a key partner. Unlike other former colonies such as Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger, who have cut ties with France and pivoted towards Russia, Senegal vows continued cooperation, albeit under the principle of sovereignty. Faye has also urged France to formally acknowledge colonial atrocities, including a 1944 massacre of African soldiers. With its withdrawal from Senegal and other nations like Chad and Ivory Coast, France's only permanent base in Africa now remains in Djibouti. The Senegalese leadership's stance reflects a broader continental trend, asserting independence while recalibrating relationships with former colonial powers. Immigrant mothers in Johannesburg are being barred from accessing public clinics by members of Operation Dudula, a vigilante group targeting non-South Africans, despite a 2023 court order mandating free healthcare for all pregnant and lactating women and children. At Jeppe Clinic, ground-up journalists witnessed Dudula members physically removing immigrants from queues, forcing them to wait separately or leave entirely. Malawian mothers shared distressing accounts of missing vital vaccinations for their newborns due to repeated harassment. The Gauteng High Court had ruled that health facilities must clearly display notices affirming immigrants' right to care, a directive widely ignored. Allegations of complicit healthcare workers have worsened the situation, prompting the Socio-Economic Rights Institute to seek legal interdicts against the group. Now, the Department of Health denies staff involvement, but admits facilities are not consistently reporting such disruptions to police. The South African Human Rights Commission has condemned Dudula's actions, which critics describe as unconstitutional and criminal. Operation Dudula claims foreign nationals strain public resources, demanding a fresh immigration overhaul. Yet, amid growing xenophobic rhetoric, vulnerable women and children are paying the highest price, facing dangerous health delays and systemic neglect. Staying with South Africa. President Cyril Ramaphosa's attempts to repair South Africa's damaged ties with the United States under Donald Trump have hit a wall. The Trump administration recently denied diplomatic status to Ramaphosa's special envoy, Cebisi Jonas, and refused to recognize him as an official interlocutor, highlighting deepening tensions. Despite a White House invitation in May, Ramaphosa was blindsided during the meeting when Trump presented inflammatory claims about a so-called genocide against white South Africans. The fallout has left South Africa without an ambassador in Washington and little diplomatic recourse. Trump has slashed aid, condemned South Africa's stance at the ICJ over Israel, and rebuked its relations with Iran, with Trump's officials skipping multiple G20 meetings chaired by South Africa. Pretoria's global engagement strategy is faltering. Foreign policy analysts say the U.S. is deliberately isolating South Africa due to ideological differences, including Pretoria's progressive stances on race, equity, climate, and Palestine. The DA has criticized Ramaphosa's choice of Jonas, citing past remarks about Trump and MTN's links to Iran. As relations plunge to a new low, South Africa faces a geopolitical dilemma: either recalibrate or strengthen ties with alternative partners in a shifting global order. A rare and massive Martian meteorite weighing 24.5 kilograms and measuring nearly 15 inches has sold for $4.3 million at Sotheby's auction in New York. Known as NWA 16788, the rock was discovered in a remote part of Niger in November 2023 and is 70% larger than the next biggest Martian fragment found on Earth. Described by Sotheby's as unbelievably rare, the reddish-brown specimen is amongst just 400 known Martian meteorites ever recovered. Cassandra Hatton, Sotheby's vice chairman of science and natural history, remarked on the extraordinary odds of such a rock landing on dry land and being recoverable. Additional taxes and fees brought the final price to $5.3 million. The buyer remains anonymous and the rock's future location is undisclosed. The auction, which featured over 100 natural history items, also saw a Ceratosaurus skeleton sell for $26 million and a skull fetch $1.4 million. I'm going to try and pronounce the name of the skull. It's a Pachycephalosaurus. Yes, we got there. The sale highlights a booming market for rare geological and paleontological specimens, with collectors willing to pay millions for fragments of natural history that offer a direct link to the cosmos. And Botswana, the world's top diamond producer, suffered a nearly 50% plunge in sales revenue last year, a major blow to its economy. While sluggish global demand is widely blamed, President Duma Boko now says the country may bypass traditional channels and directly market its diamond stockpile. This footage is from BTV News, Botswana.
If the diamonds are there, how is the country broke? Now they are not being sold. Who is selling? DBS. Then DBS is not doing its job. Maybe we should take over and sell them ourselves. That's what we should do. And that will be deemed very radical. Now this guy is a label. But the country needs the money. and it has the diamonds, and somebody who's supposed to be selling the diamonds is not doing the job, oh no. And we are simply sitting on our laurels, folding up our arms and hoping, beyond hope, that this, no. I will take the diamonds and see what we can do with them. They are ours. These diamonds are ours. And so before the end of this year, something very drastic in that space will happen. If it doesn't happen, we will die trying. By all means.
Those have been our top stories on Africa. Good morning. After the break, we zone in on news from Namibia, the top highlights from the week. But first, we have a look at the weather. All right, let's zone in on news from Namibia from the week. During her keynote address at the Effective Communication Conference, which was held at the coast in Swakopmund, Minister of ICT Emma Theophilus called on communicators to go beyond the call of duty, urging them to become agents of change and advocates for truth. The three-day conference was held at the MTC Dome in Swakopmund.
I urge each one of you to embrace the opportunities that lie ahead, to challenge the status quo, and to push the boundaries of what is possible through the art of communication. Let us commit ourselves to being not just communicators, but agents of change, advocates for truth, and champions for a better tomorrow. And I would like to emphasize on truthfulness, because the truth builds trust. And if communicators are trusted, misinformation, disinformation, fake news becomes a thing of the past. Imagine as we enter this new era of a Namibia that sees an economic space and a promising green hydrogen sector and oil discoveries, and see that every Namibian is able to tap into these economic opportunities that have been presented to all of us. We cannot allow a situation where a young Namibian or any Namibian at all is unable to get the opportunities they deserve because we're unable to effectively communicate the opportunities that are available. We have the responsibility to deliver truthful, verified information to the people and fair reporting at all times. Without doing this, we will lose the opportunity to be catalysts for what promises to be an even greater Namibian nation. May this conference be a source of inspiration, a catalyst for innovation, and a beacon of hope for a future where communication empowers, where communication enlightens, and where communication connects us all in our diversity.
The Communications Regulatory Authority of Namibia hosted a validation workshop on the Regulatory Impact Assessment, RIA, of infrastructure sharing regulations in the capital. CRAN CEO Emilia Ngikembwa highlighted the importance of infrastructure sharing in accelerating digital transformation and reducing costs for consumers.
Like many countries around the world, is quickly repositioning itself to become a digitally transformed nation. Digital transformation is on the lips of all Namibians, whether it's in the public sector or in the private sector. And for us as a regulator, we are keenly assessing the framework to see what are those aspects that we need to focus on that will propel the digital transformation agenda. And I believe you would all agree with me when we say digital infrastructure or the deployment of digital infrastructure is a key catalyst for digital transformation. And this is why it is important for us to have conversations around not only the deployment of infrastructure, but also the sharing of this infrastructure, because it is a catalyst for digital transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, today's workshop centers on Exposed Biya, conducted by CREN with the assistance of TMG, but also the support of the International Telecommunications Union. This report evaluates the effectiveness of the current regulatory framework for infrastructure sharing. It identifies.
And in our last story stemming from Namibia, Oshana Governor Hofni Ipinge officiated the groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of the Namibian Oncology Center, NOC, and the medical imaging facility in Ongwediva. Now, once it's operational, cancer patients from the northern regions will no longer have to travel 600 kilometers to Windhoek for cancer treatment services.
To at least bring hope for our people that they're supposed to travel 600 kilometers from the northern area to Windhoek to receive this special treatment of this high quality. So therefore, we don't need to travel anymore. You just travel less than 10 kilometers if you are coming from Saki or Hangwena or Skoto, and those who are in Oshana, you are home. So this is the hope that you are bringing to our people to make sure that our people, they have early detection of cancer and many other diseases. So we are doing the groundbreaking here in Ongwediva, and I already spoke to the investors that I don't want to do the groundbreaking, and it will take 3 months again without putting up any foundation. So my symbol of doing the groundbreaking here, tomorrow or this week, I will pass by here to see if you started. I don't want to do groundbreaking and nothing is happening. So we are giving hope to the Namibian people out there so that they know that yes, there's something going on in Ongwediva, Oshana region, and that is what we are doing now.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Awesome.
In your economic news, as G20 finance ministers meet in Durban, South Africa has called for renewed global cooperation amid rising trade tensions stoked by President Donald Trump's aggressive tariff agenda. South Africa's Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana urged the group to act boldly to address soaring debt, climate funding gaps, and economic inequities plaguing developing nations. Yet the summit unfolds under a cloud. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is once again absent, sending a junior representative instead. His no-show follows a similar snub in February, highlighting Washington's disengagement just months before it assumes the G20 presidency. That's been your economic news. You are still with Africa. Good morning. Stay with us as we come back with the sport.
Running a business isn't just about hitting the big milestones. It's also about handling the day-to-day. From equipping your office, to closing deals over lunch, to managing your team's expenses while they're on the go. Now, with the FNB Business Credit Card, you can handle everyday expenses with ease. Enjoy up to 44 days of interest-free credit, unlimited swipes, and real-time expense tracking, so you're always in control. Apply for an FNB Business Credit Card. Contact us today to get started. FNB, how can we help you?
As you know, tomorrow, Saturday the 19th of July at 3 p.m. our time, 4 p.m. Kampala, Uganda time, Namibia will be clashing with Zimbabwe in the final of the Rugby Africa Cup. Zimbabwe got a victory in last year's final. Namibia is looking to take it back, which is why we're calling this segment Chasing the Cup, as our correspondent Andrew Pullman is in Kampala, Uganda. Enjoy.
Hi guys, welcome here from East Africa. We are here in the capital city of Uganda, in Kampala, and of course for Saturday's Rugby Africa Cup championship match, which will also determine the direct African qualifier for the 2027 Rugby World Cup, which is to be held in Australia. We fully expect and support the Namibia team that will be up against Zimbabwe in the final here in Kampala on Saturday. Local time, it'll be 4 o'clock. That'll be 3 o'clock Namibian time. The match will be broadcast live on the Facebook page of Rugby Africa and also on their YouTube channel. You can also watch the match live. We'll be there from early in the morning for the other teams. There were 8 teams involved in the tournament playing for their final position. So in the early morning, it'll be Senegal against Morocco, followed by Algeria versus Kenya. That'll actually be the bronze final. The 2 teams that lost in the semi-finals. Then the host nation, Uganda, they play against Ivory Coast, playing out for the 5th place. And that will then be just the main curtain raiser before the main match. So there'll be big celebrations in Kampala by whoever wins that match between Namibia and Zimbabwe, which will book their place to go to the Rugby World Cup in 2027. So just having a look at other local newspapers here in Uganda. Also, it's they make mention of the Namibia A cricket team that is on tour here, playing in a series against Kenya and also against Uganda A. So for upcoming players, that's just next in line to represent the national teams. Good opportunity. So Namibia side that is captained by JC Bolt, the opening batsman, and also Zagiel van Vuren and lots of fringe players and Jack Brassel. Quite a useful team that Namibia sent over here under their head coach also Craig Williams, who was previously involved as a consultant with the Uganda cricket team, and that assisted them in going to the T20 World Cup in the West Indies last year. There's also mentions. They also mentioned a 4 Nations football tournament that starts on July 21st. 4 Nations of Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Congo. These nations serving as a preparation for the African Nations Championship, the CHAN tournament. So giving their teams exposure ahead of that tournament. Yeah, so that's basically then all from my side here. We'll be follow us on Sport Rap as we cover and mention make mention of the rugby build up for Saturday.
Thank you for staying with us throughout the broadcast on DSTV 285, GOTV 25, 1up2.com, Network Media Hub on YouTube, as well as NTV Africa on YouTube. If you want to watch this and other episodes again, do click the echo icon on 1up2.com in your own time, and we'll certainly make sure that we are always accessible to you. From me, Ashwin Bedi and the Africa Good Morning team, we'll be back next week, picking it up on Monday with Mike Sichula in Zambia. But for now, enjoy the weekend. All the best to Namibia's Vigilantes as they take on Zimbabwe's Sables in the final of the Rugby Africa Cup tomorrow. Swera Jaganaka.